Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Good afternoon and happy Monday. First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you here from the First Alert desk. Today, we are going to be taking our focus kind of out of this world, and we are going to be talking about the total lunar eclipse that's going to be happening tonight. Well, really into tomorrow morning. So we will be talking about the timing. We're going to go into the forecast, but since as meteorologists, yes, we do focus on the atmosphere, but there's so much beyond Earth's atmosphere. So I was able to talk with Mike Murray. He's one of the astronomers at the Delta College Planetarium there in Bay City, and I really wanted to get his expertise on what we can expect, how it all works. So I am going to hop over to our conversation, so take a listen.
All right, our first question that we have with that lunar eclipse coming up is, what is a lunar eclipse?
So, we've all heard about solar eclipses when the moon is covering the face of the sun and we're in the shadow. A lunar eclipse is kind of the opposite. It's when the moon is passing into the Earth's shadow. And the benefit of a lunar eclipse is you'll see the moon darken and maybe turn a little bit red, and it might be in totality for an hour or more as opposed to just a few minutes in a solar eclipse.
So the time frame is definitely a little bit different to kind of enjoy a lunar eclipse rather than the solar eclipse.
That's right. And the nice thing about lunar eclipses is you don't have to be in just one little narrow band on the Earth to see it. Anyone on the side of the Earth that's facing a full moon will see the eclipse, provided it's clear, of course.
Yes. So beyond the weather, let's at least talk about our location here in mid-Michigan. Are we going to have a good chance to see this?
Yes, we won't see the entire eclipse. We will get to see the whole totality phase. What I mean is that it's going to take place right before sunrise during dawn. So the full moon, the totally eclipsed moon, will be very low to the western horizon. And just as it's setting is when the moon would normally start gradually coming out of the shadow, but that's okay. The best part is totality, and we get to see it.
So at least we get kind of the headline event from this one.
Right.
Now, is this going to be a total or a partial eclipse?
This is a total lunar eclipse. And so what'll happen is you'll see the curved edge of the shadow of the Earth, sorry, flat earthers, that advances across the face of the moon between about 4 and 5 a.m. So it takes about an hour for the moon to completely cast or follow into the shadow. Then between about 5 and 6 a.m., it'll be in what's called totality. Now, it won't look completely red across the entire face because it's not in the center of the shadow. It'll seem reddish on one end and orangish on the other.
Okay, so when we are in totality, which is what we're going to be able to see here in mid-Michigan, we won't have that red hue during that hour-long time frame. That's going to be on the ends of it, correct?
You will get to see some of the red, but it won't be red all the way across
Okay.
because the deeper you go into the shadow, the darker and redder it gets. But because this particular eclipse doesn't go right through the center of the shadow, it'll be a little bit orangish on one end. But if you were on the moon, the Earth would still completely eclipse the sun.
Okay, it's still good to know, even though we're not able to make it to the moon to check this one out. But explain how that red coloring works and even just kind of that light refraction.
The Earth has an atmosphere, very thin, but if you were on the moon looking at the Earth when it covers over the sun, you would see a really bright reddish orange ring all the way around the Earth. That's the sun that's passing through the Earth's atmosphere. And of course, it passes the reds and oranges because it's almost like being in twilight all the way around that edge.
Okay, so then because we're shining that through that shadow, that's how we're getting that red color.
Right. So it's really a product of the Earth's atmosphere that creates and pushes the red colors onto the moon.
All right, so that's good to know because I know we see a lot of headlines of blood moon or
Mhm.
just kind of all of these different moon events that happen. So to actually know the expectation. So for this event, will we have any of it looking like there was a bite taken out of the moon, or this is more just kind of looking for that red coloring on the side for folks who are hoping to get something exciting?
Right. So when the eclipse starts, it has to go through or it has to enter the Earth's shadow. That takes about an hour. So it'll look like there's a curved bite moving slowly across the phase of the moon until about 5 a.m. when it will be completely immersed in the shadow. And there's when you'll get the red and orange colors.
Okay, so we kind of get a little bit of everything with this one.
Yeah, it's a nice way to see. The only part we miss is when the moon is coming out of the shadow, but that's okay. That's not nearly the most exciting part. So we'll be okay.
Okay, that's good to know. And we're talking about the timing. So for folks here in mid-Michigan, what are the time frames that we need to set an alarm to maybe get up to watch this?
So right before 5 a.m. is when you'll see the dark shadow of the Earth beginning to advance across the face of the moon, the partial phase. So anytime between about 4:50 and about 6 o'clock, you'll have the partial phases. And then actually it's between 6 and 7 a.m. Sorry, I misspoke. That totality takes place because right after 7 a.m. is sunrise. So the
Yeah.
moon will be very low on the western horizon during that dawn period.
Okay, so kind of keep our eyes close to the horizon. Of course, being safe though, once that sun's up, then it's, game over as far as viewing.
Yeah, you'll see the sun or the moon go down. The thing that's critical is you've got to find a place with a nice low western horizon. So maybe you're on a lake, maybe you're looking out over a large farm field or looking out over the bay. As long as the western horizon has a good clear view all the way as far down as you can get it, then you should have no problem.
Okay, so if we have maybe some tall trees that are in kind of our western view, that can maybe be a little bit of a hindrance.
Oh, yeah, definitely, because the moon is going to get really low to the horizon. The totality phase doesn't end until right about sunrise, which means it's setting.
Okay, so that's a good thing to know for folks to where maybe they just want to go to a friend's house and get a good kind of, viewpoint there rather than, seeing maybe just some trees or a building next door.
That's right.
Yeah, so
And
something
that's
good.
one of the reasons why, if it's clear, we'll have observing on our rooftop observation deck starting at 5 a.m. and ending at 7 a.m., provided the skies are clear, of course. And that way we get up high above the skyline up on our rooftop so we can see all the way to the horizon.
Okay, so we have a couple of hours here. So again, kind of set your alarm clock for about 4:50 and head out there, and then we have a couple hours of viewing.
Correct.
All right. I just want to make sure that we have that alarm and even our crews. I know we'll have some folks that are awake so that they know to take a look outside. Hopefully, again, we'll have those clear skies to take this in. In case we don't have clear skies, when can we expect the next lunar eclipse to be visible here in mid Michigan?
Well, now that's the funny thing. You can get as many as two lunar eclipses per year. They may be partial, they may be total, but you still have to be on the right side of the Earth. And unfortunately for Michigan, we don't get to see another total lunar eclipse until 2029. So
Oh,
this might be your last chance for a little while. There might be some partial eclipses between now and then, but you really want that total, so it's completely immersed.
yeah, this is kind of the bigger of the events, just kind of like how the total solar eclipse are kind of the big ones there, very similar than in comparison than for a lunar eclipse.
Mhm. Now, the good news about the next one coming up in 29, that's one of the best in about 70 years because it will pass almost directly through the center of the Earth's shadow, which will make it really dark.
Oh, okay. So we will mark our calendars
Mark your calendar.
2029 and to make sure that we can kind of keep that note if we miss out on this one, that we can hopefully catch that one. Is there anything else that people need to be aware of if they're going to try to catch this, or is there any even some other scientific facts that I forgot to ask you about?
So the neat thing about lunar eclipses is if you have binoculars and you look at the eclipsed moon, you will still see some lunar features. Because yes, the surface is dark, but it's not a black shadow, like I said, because of the Earth's atmosphere. So what's really neat is you can look and see the reddish landscape of the moon, the mountains and plains and craters. And so that can be an added treat.
Yes. And speaking of that, if we maybe don't have any gear or equipment, we can still take this in with our bare eyes, correct?
Absolutely. A lunar eclipse is completely different from solar because the sun's not in the sky. And so it's completely safe to look at, especially when it's eclipsed, it's even darker. And so, yep, there's no precautions that you need to worry about.
That is good to know because, yeah, we want everybody to be safe. And especially with it coming closer towards sunrise, just of
Hmm.
course, no looking at the sun once that comes up. We'll just
Hmm.
enjoy the eclipse and then get on with our day.
That's right. And it scares the werewolves away.
Ah, that's a good little fun fact. Is there any, because during the solar eclipse, of course, birds, there's some animal changes there. Are there any maybe, nighttime animals that notice a difference during a lunar eclipse, or is it just it's always dark, so there's no difference there?
Well, there are a lot of nocturnal animals, and they do know about the full moon. In fact, lake sturgeon know when it's uh, egg planting season, that they will not lay their eggs in the rivers during a full moon because they want to keep the predators away. So there are a lot of animals that do know. Now, because of the short duration of the eclipse, it's not going to really affect anything. But there are some that might notice and change their behavior just a little bit.
Interesting. That's always interesting to kind of see how all of those work, but even just when we have a full moon coming in cycle here, that they're going to make that small change. So that's still some interesting facts to know.
A lot of different things happen with the cycles when it
Yes,
comes to life.
everything kind of works in tandem with one another.
Indeed.
But we do appreciate you, though, for giving us a little bit of your time, Mike. And if people want to come to the planetarium, are you guys going to be, open if weather pending for folks to get out there, or maybe even do some other interactive activities for this event?
So if the weather is clear, you'll want to check and make sure. We will be at the planetarium starting at 5 a.m. On that Tuesday morning. However, you can also check our Facebook page to see if it's a go or no go the night before. Because if it looks pretty certain that it's going to be cloudy, thank you, Diane, you can help us with that. And then we'll know if it will be able to give people a heads up.
Exactly. And of course, we'll be following that here in the First Alert Weather Center and hoping that we can get that cloud cover out of the way. Maybe a little bit cooler, but it sounds like the views are going to be worth it, even if it is a little chilly
Mhm.
that morning.
And if you absolutely want to try to catch something and it's cloudy here, you can go online. There's probably a lot of live casts from around the country that are going to have it on YouTube, probably. So if you really want to see it in real time, that might be a good way.
That's a good point. One of the perks of the internet.
There it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mike, and hopefully we have some good viewing.
I hope so. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
And if you want to hear more from Mike and just kind of stay up to date on some of the astronomy things that are going on that we can hopefully get a good look at, every week Mike puts out kind of a blog, we can say, and he shared the information on where you can get that. He said it's a little bit like a podcast as well. So if you want to head over to the Facebook comments and just share that there, I'll also be able to drop that into the YouTube comments later on. But if you want to kind of stay connected in that world, of course, make sure you head over to Bay City and keep an eye to those conditions and what's happening and all the events that they have going on. Now, we are going to take a look at what the forecast looks like if you want to get a good look, so make sure you stay tuned. We're going to be right back after this quick break. Thanks for staying with us. We are going to hop into that forecast and kind of first, though, talk about timing for the eclipse, because though we did kind of go through it in our interview, you're going to see here that there's a certain time frame that it's maybe a little bit better for you to set that alarm clock for the morning. I know that this is going to happen and maybe be pretty early, but for some of us who are already early risers, this is already lining up to be a pretty good chance at seeing this. So as we look at some of the timing, kind of that when we see the eclipse really get underway around 3:44. That's a bit early. You'll kind of remember from the conversation that Mike had said that it's kind of better to kind of set it about 4:50. So that's when we kind of have that partial eclipse beginning. We don't quite have that red phase coming in yet, but once we hit the 6 o'clock hour, that's when we are going to kind of have that red, pink, orange hue coming over. So that's going to be possible during the 6 o'clock hour. For some folks, you're already doing the morning commute. Maybe you're just getting up. Take a peek outside. You're going to want to look in that western sky, because that's going to be kind of the best place that we have. But as we go through the morning, you'll see that we do reach that maximum eclipse around 6:33 a.m. So still not bad timing. We don't have to get up too terribly early for that. But then at 7 a.m., the total eclipse, kind of the red portion of this, will end. But it isn't going to be long after that then the sun is going to come up. So as Mike was saying, you're just going to kind of want to keep in mind that the moon is soon going to be dropping below the horizon. And then as that sun comes up, well, of course, then that's going to stall the party anyway with all that light coming in. So we are going to have kind of that partial eclipse on the backside of this to not be visible. And so when the ending of the eclipse is really going to end when the Earth's shadow portion is complete. So we are going to still have a pretty good view, but he was saying that the eclipse in 2029, so this is going to be on March 26, 2029, is going to be pretty good. We're going to be having it a little more aligned to be more centrally located in the Earth's shadow, so we can get more of those vivid red colors. That's the expectation. Of course, we have 3 years to get the forecast right on this one, so we'll have to see if Mother Nature knows that we really want to get a good look at that. Plus, it'll be warmer in June. Those nights are a little bit more comfortable than what we're going to have for tonight going into tomorrow morning. When we look at the forecast, if you're going to be getting up, I still kind of staggered this out every 2 hours here in the forecast, but about 2 a.m. you can see we're right around 22 degrees, and we just kind of hover there between 3, 4, 5, and 6 a.m. So this is as we're getting into the eclipse and into that shadowing. So it is going to be cold while you're out there viewing. Of course, dress warm, have your pants on, have your gloves, your hat. The good news is that we can see this with our bare eyes. So that just means that we don't need any special glasses this time with this being a lunar eclipse. But still, you may just want to be decked out in some more warmer clothes if you're going to be out there for a couple of hours trying to take this in. You will see here that I do have quite a few cloud icons. So we will have those clouds that are going to be hanging around for us. I know it's not ideal timing considering this is the look outside now. There's not even a cloud to be seen as we're looking south on our Vehicle City Harley-Davidson camera. So we would like to get that switched up, and we would like to, well, keep these conditions, because when I look at the forecast, that's where we want to see the switching and those changes, because you'll see here that the clear skies does hold through the evening commute. So it'll be a beautiful drive home. But once we get into the night, we start to see some thin cirrus clouds come in. So these are usually allowing a couple of breaks, maybe a view coming in, but they do start to become pretty thick in the 4 o'clock hour. So even here at about 7 o'clock, so I'll bump that back actually to kind of our max eclipse time here for like 6 o'clock. There's still quite a bit of cloud cover here. Might be tricky to get this eclipse, at least in our eyes. So you may want to do some traveling to kind of get a good look at that. But you will see during the morning that we do anticipate some clouds. And then it's just kind of painful to watch here going into Tuesday, because we do see a little bit of it, the clouds breaking apart. But we have to wait for much of Tuesday. We do have some of that sun coming in closer towards 6 o'clock, so closer towards sunset. The real reason why we do have the clouds coming in is we have some rain that's going to be sitting off towards our south. We were looking at this rain system for us locally on Tuesday, but that system is now holding further south, so it's still throwing the clouds in our direction, but the rain isn't making it. So we are going to find that we do have not a great forecast for viewing, to be completely honest. Now, if you do want to go to the planetarium, make sure you're checking in with them. They were going to try to do some viewing starting at 5 a.m., depending on the forecast. So make sure you check their social medias to see what the plan is, if they're still going to be open and still try to look through the clouds, or if they're just going to maybe postpone that viewing simply because there are some clouds in the forecast. So just kind of keep that in mind here, is that we will have some cloudy conditions, but at least Tuesday did dry out afterwards. So we were able to make it up with the drier forecast, but we weren't able to clear out the clouds. So and just kind of keep in mind that we are going to be finding our conditions to just be a little bit on the cloudy side for this one, so not exactly what we want to see. But of course, make sure you have the First Alert weather app going. There is the satellite layer on the radar tab, so in the bottom right hand corner there's all the different layers that you can put on. So if you turn on that satellite layer, then you can track the cloud coverage once you get up in the night to start to watch the eclipse. So that is a great app to have. I'll bring up that QR code here so you can get that downloaded on your devices in case you don't have that already. If you do have it, then just give it a good update. Make sure that you have the latest version so that you have all those good tools going into a fun event like this. But I do want to thank Mike again from the Planetarium for making sure that we know all of the happenings that are going to be going on with the total lunar eclipse tonight. Also, if you're able to get a good photo of it, feel free to share it on the First Alert weather app or on the TV5 News app. You can submit photos there, and then we can maybe share them tomorrow here at the First Alert desk. So hopefully the clouds, though, don't get in the way. But thank you so much for heading out of this world with us this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you a little bit later on for the TV5 News at 4 o'clock on TV5.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.